Hey everybody, welcome to today's video, and I want to thank you guys for following me along in this Arctic Cat differential build, and also following me along on the many videos that we've done repairing this Arctic Cat, but we're not finished yet. Today's video, we are dealing with reassembling the front differential, getting it ready to reinstall. I got my parts laid out here on the table, so let's get to work. We're going to start off with assembly of the input shaft. And that's going to start off with replacing the seal right in there. This is our seal right here, which is going to go in just like that. I'm going to put some grease on the outside there. The seal on top. Use a seal driver. I'm then going to put some assembly lube on the seal face here. Going to take the two halves, slide them in, take my snap ring, so now we're on the shift fork assembly for the input shaft. Just going to use some grease on there. Stick the pin. Put the spring. Put those pieces. Just to ensure that the old gasket won't leak, I'm going to use some 515 gasket eliminator with it to help create a good seal. I'm going to take this gasket, the gasket eliminator, sort of like glue, so helps hold her in place. Nice and easy. There we go. So when you go to align this and put it on, you got to make sure your splines align. So if it doesn't go on smoothly, don't try to force it, because then you're doing something wrong. Right now, everything's set up, everything's hooked up. Let's bolt her down. However, if you want to check, make sure this is assembled properly right now, it's engaged in four-wheel drive. So if I push this pin in and turn it, I'm free. Release the pin, it's engaged. So before I put the differential in, I put some synthetic grease on the shim, hold it down on the bearing so it kind of sticks. Now I'm going to very carefully, hopefully not disturb my shim. Got that in there, so we can turn it. Have another shim. It's going to go right there. So this part here is important. You can do this before or after. What I did is that I marked it, because you see that little tit right there, that when we're pressing out bearings and pressing in new ones, make sure you don't damage that, because on this face it has to go inside there to lock it in place. and then everything will hold in where it should. So let's assemble this now. Dropping this in, making sure my marks are aligned. And assembly lube the shit out of this. My shift fork. There we go. Here comes the fun part. We gotta put this O-ring in, and I'm gonna use this plastic tool because it's like a non-marring tool to get it in. So I'm just going to, whoops, lubricate the O-ring just to make it go in easier. The last thing we want to do is put the cover on and pinch the O-ring. So now we're ready to assemble the last piece. However, I did notice something, and you guys should check too if you're doing this job. That oil seal is also damaged, and the bearing rebuild kit did not come with a little small one, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to order one up. It just comes out really easy. Make sure our marks are still aligned. This piece again should go right in, sit down flat on its own. If it doesn't, gotta work that O-ring a little bit more. Try not to damage it because you will have a seal leak and you'll just be starting all over again. Since I'm replacing everything, not gonna cheap out. Did the O-ring as well. This thing here is, it's like a hard push to get her on. We're all ready, and we're going to install the axle seals once the differential's inside the frame of the ATV, only because getting this back inside, we don't want to damage the seals in the process. One little extra safety step. And now that the actuator's bolted on, don't forget to put that bottom bracket on. I didn't show it earlier when I put the input shaft on, but you could do it then or you can do it after. I just find it easier to line everything up and then do it that way. Let's proceed to the last step. So this is where the struggle becomes very real. You're getting the differential back inside, and then you gotta line up, obviously, the splines and the yoke back there, which is posing to be a real pain in the butt because you don't have a lot of movement there. We'll get her in though. We're in and bolted up. So for that strap, if you don't want to buy a new one, I've used a zip tie, and it's worked pretty good over the years. Now, how I got that in, everybody's going to have to find their own method. But I was able to wiggle this up in the far cavity as far as I could go, and then try to get the splines lined up, and then grab the output shaft at the back here and turn it so the splines can kind of lock, and then kind of slide it in there at the same time. It's a bit of a pain in the butt, and some people may get it easy and some people may struggle for a long time, but just, you know, keep your cool. it will eventually come. Now we're ready to insert the seals. Now what you got to be careful with is that there's a lip there, and the last thing you want to do is use a seal driver on it. And this still may damage the seal, but I'm going to use a punch. That way I can get behind that lip. We're going to have to go around and tap it into place. But to make it go on easier, we're going to lube up the sides first. So there's no guarantee that this is going to go in either. Oh. We actually just go in by hand. There we go, the seal's in. It'll only sit in there flush, so don't try to bang it any farther than what you have to. You might end up damaging it. And now we're ready to stick in the axles when the time comes. Alright, I want to thank you guys for watching this series, the differentials in the ATV. I do not know if I'm going to make another video of doing the rest of the install. I think it's all pretty straightforward, but I may just do want to point out some tips and tricks along the way. That was a very delicate rebuild, had some serious issues along the way. I think we got them worked out. That's to be determined once we get out and start driving it and see if there is any issues. I don't suspect there will be. Everything looks like it's going to be fine. Anyways, if you have any questions or comments, post them below. Otherwise, I want to thank you guys for watching.